Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast, where we drink and talk about movies from 2007.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!
I don't remember seeing this movie.
What's your power? You don't got the power.
Keeps away the narwhals.
The only way to defeat a waffle is by making it a pancake.
This is one doodle that can't be undid, home skillet.
Now back to that ass.
Were you masturbating?
I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of I Drink Your Podcast. I am Matthew, and joining me is Ben.
Hey, everybody.
Wesley. Hi. Emily.
Hello.
And our dear friend and guest this week, Johnny. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on? How's it going, my friends?
Yay, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. And, let's just start off the podcast by asking, does anyone have anything interesting in their glass?
In the spirit of Frank Lucas's Empire, I have a couple shots of liquid heroin, which is half Jägermeister, half peppermint liqueur.
Oh, Ben. Oh, God. Gross.
In addition to that, I'm chasing it with a really thick Bourbon County Stout from 2017. So I'm going to be very fucked up because this is 12% alcohol, this beer.
Reminds me of my mother. Wow.
Oh my God. What's in your glass?
Nice girl.
So I also have something inspired by the movie. I have a Harlem cocktail, which is 2 ounces of gin, 1/4 of an ounce of cherry liqueur, 3/4 of an ounce of pineapple juice, a teaspoon of lemon juice, and some really fancy bitters that I don't really remember how to pronounce. Again, husband made me my drink, and it is so damn good.
That sounds amazing.
Wow.
I know. Told you, Wesley, you'd love this.
Johnny, what is in your glass?
The tears of the family members of Frank's victims. No, I'm drinking Canadian rye. I guess to make it kind of gangster. I don't know. You guys used to drink a lot of that. You Americans used to drink a lot of that during Prohibition. So tied into the gangster theme.
Nice.
Well, you're on theme with your outfit too today.
Yes, I picked well, that's one of the best parts. Do they know we're doing American Gangster? Did I just give it away? Because
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
what's his name? Russell Crowe. His outfits are incredible in that movie. And I picked a shirt that represented him the best. And they don't look cheesy. They look sick in that movie. So just representing.
You know, something looks good when you have to preface it with, they don't look cheesy.
It's the 70s, right? And the 70s is so like, it's, to me, it looks so silly. And this movie, I think, really nailed like the coolness of it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sure. So this movie being from 2007 and the premise of the show being like, we're all doing all 2007 movies.
And getting drunk.
And getting drunk. Damn, that is a drink. But Johnny, what were you up to in 2007?
2007, it was a good year. I just spent a year drinking in London, England, which was sick because I moved there when I was 18, so you could just go immediately start drinking. That's how important drinking was to me. But I just came back and I moved into a house of with a bunch of guys. They're a bunch of Muslim guys, but they're very sinful. And it really it was awesome. It opened up like my eyes to like this new world of like clubbing and like Molly and dressing like a douchebag and fucking shawarma. And it was a great year. I just lost my virginity to a Chinese woman named Candy. Very nice girl.
Shout out to her.
Shout out to her. And she chose that name when she came over here. She wasn't a stripper and everyone thinks that. But she went back to China, so she'll never listen to this. But if you're out there, Candy, I didn't tell you, but I was totally faking it. That you were my first time and you rule. And 2007 was a very important time for me.
Hot news.
Wow. I'm
breaking the stories.
I love it.
Right away. So let's have a little drink to Candy, all right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Does anyone have any follow-up questions for Johnny?
On the record.
No, I really don't. I don't have any follow-up at all whatsoever.
I feel like I know you more than I know most of the people on this call.
That's true.
I'm an open book.
I love it.
What are some of your favorite movies, Johnny? Do you have like a favorite genre or?
Oh, absolutely. Wait, should I sell myself first? Like I'm the guest here. I'm Johnny_now on Twitch. That's how I met Matt.
Right.
Follow me, twitch.tv/Johnny_now. I'm like a D-list celebrity on there. I'm like very low but I am like a little known. So please follow me and help me.
Right. I was gonna leave that as a reveal, but like, yes.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. No, that's fine.
No, let's get it out up top.
We'll bring it up
in case
again.
anybody doesn't listen all the way through.
Okay, my favorite movies, I just love gangster movies. They're the coolest. Outfits, style, music, everything's the best. But I like that in like a good drama. Like I used to like art films. Yeah, like a spy movie. I used to like art films and like foreign films. Like, you know, when you're young and you're trying to like prove something.
Right.
But then I just realized they're all the same.
I remember thinking Crash was good, and then I grew up a little bit, and I was like, "What am I?"
We're so white.
I don't know. I was young. I was young.
So Johnny, I don't watch a lot of movies. Can you give me some names of gangster movies? Because I probably haven't seen them.
Oh well, like I think Casino is better than Goodfellas, but you show Goodfellas to your girlfriend first. That's like a rule.
Okay.
I love Don Hemingway. That was a good one. I don't think a lot of people liked it, but I thought it was a good take. That was Jude Law's gangster film. And I don't know. I just like anything with like, you know, some guns and stuff, cool outfits, the power. I like a few comedies. Like I watched another teen movie recently, and that held up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I did watch that recently.
Did you like it? I mean, it couldn't be made now, but I was laughing. That the Vietnam father, that was offensive to just a generation of people. I'm not much of a cinephile like you guys. Well, you're not one either, but you said, but
yeah, no,
you guys are cinephiles.
I'm getting
right?
there. They are
trying to work on
there.
it.
No, I just make jokes.
Wesley.
No, I think you're right though. Like in terms of like your gangster movies, you know, you do show Goodfellas that's, you know, what I showed to Shelby first, and then Casino, because like Casino is a little more rough around the edges.
A little longer too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like The Godfather is up there, 1 and 2.
I have seen those.
Okay.
And then if you're about to break up with a girl, you make her watch The Irishman.
What?
Because
why?
Put her through that pain before you leave her. It'll soften the blow of you dumping her.
Wow. Ben,
I haven't seen it yet.
It's rough.
You see an old man beat up people. That's what it is.
Yeah, for 3.5 hours.
Okay.
He moves like an old man in it too. He has like the old man arms and shoulders, but the 20-year-old face. I gotta watch it again. But
wait,
I
is that
like
Robert De Niro in that one?
Yeah.
Oh my
and
gosh.
They try to age him down to 20 years old. It's so his face looks young, but his body moves like he's 70.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
They did a deep fake. It came out this week, and it looks so much better than the movie. And it's like, oh my, like what a tragedy.
A deep fake photo or a video?
No, they took the scenes of the de-aging scenes in The Irishman, and and some guy just deep faked them, and it looked better than the technology they used. And it's pathetic if you think about it. Some kid on 4chan made it better.
So what about American Gangster made you excited to be on the show, or just like be on the show in general?
I love American Gangster. The first time I saw it, I didn't like it, but the hype, I remember back in 2007, like the hype was so big for it. Jay-Z had an entire album called American Gangster. I loved it. I think that's probably the last CD I bought, because like right after that, everything went online, right? And I lived also with like this Bayesian guy, and he was like so excited. Like it was finally like a gangster movie that showed like a big one that showed respect, like a respect, and it's from the Black community. And it felt like it was a moment it felt like we were going to watch history. And I do think on the second review, it gets that, but I'm watching it again. It is a monumental movie. I think it's like a progress moment. Mm-hmm. It's about time, you know? Do you guys remember 2007 when this came? I just remember everyone was so excited. Like every rapper was in it. T.I., RZA. It just felt like a moment in history, and I was really excited. And I love the outfits.
Yeah, I just remember this being like the hyped Oscar movie of that year. Like this was the Oscar bait for that year. Like go see the Ridley Scott movie with Denzel and Russell Crowe pitted against each other. So that's what I remember it being marketed as.
I remember nothing of this movie because I was in 8th grade.
Oh
and you had good parents.
Well, sure.
Dang. Like Yeah, I didn't remember much about that. I guess I was over in Japan, so like I didn't catch all the hype you guys did on this. I just came in late being like, Frank Lucas, like this is a pretty cool, like a progress moment. You know, you have a black gangster cutting out the middleman. So
Yeah, I'm sure a movie called American Gangster didn't get a big push in Japan or China.
Well, I heard in China they called it African American Gangster, which I thought was wrong.
Seriously?
Oh, wow.
I just
Interesting.
made that up. That's what were you doing in Japan? Were you a sex tourist?
I was in the. Well, I guess you could say that. I was in the Air Force.
Oh, you were? So
Yeah.
you were bringing back heroin for modern day Frank.
Yeah, we'll get into the movie.
We'll get into that, yeah.
We'll get into the movie. So if you haven't heard the show before, the first half of the show is going to be reviewing and discussing American Gangster. And the second half is going to feature our Battle of Twits, a creative competition between Ben and myself.
And Johnny's going to help moderate.
Yep, and Johnny's going to help moderate. He's going to be asking the tough questions and keeping us honest. Right, Ben?
We'll see.
Okay. All right, so today we watched American Gangster, which was directed by Ridley Scott, featuring Denzel Washington, Russell Crowe, Chiwetel Ejiofor. That's a hard one, but we did it.
Well done.
On the first try, too.
First try.
Research pays off.
And then who else? Josh Brolin. Not going to mess up that name. So it's a recurring theme, Johnny, if you haven't caught on. The names are hard. And
I think it was really woke that you got that one. I'm proud of you.
Bumpy was rich, but he wasn't white man rich. You see, he wasn't wealthy. He didn't own his own company. He thought he did, but he didn't. He just managed it. White man owned it, so they owned him. Nobody owns me, though.
After Harlem's mob boss, Bumpy Johnson, dies of a heart attack, Frank Lucas, played by Denzel Washington, works to take over the heroin drug empire, going to Thailand during the Vietnam War to buy directly from suppliers. When Frank returns, he wholesales blue magic to most of the dealers in New York, monopolizes the market, while a local and honest cop, Richie Roberts, played by Russell Crowe, is put on an undercover drug task force. Yeah, that's Act 1, baby.
Act 1 is hella short. Like, this movie is so long and Act 1 is so short.
Well, it's not that it's short. It's just so little happens in the first 45 to 50 minutes of this movie.
Yeah,
It's just
right.
introducing us to
It's a lot of
these
establishing.
characters very slowly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. I don't think Denzel Washington's character goes to Thailand until like a half hour into the movie. And that's like, once he has the drugs, then the movie starts.
Yeah, what is the runtime on this?
Too long.
There are two versions. One's the director's cut, and then there's the theatrical cut. And so there's like 2 hours and 55 minutes versus 2 hours and 35 minutes.
Okay.
I got stuck watching the director's cut because that's what was loaded onto our shared site. So I watched the 2 hours and 55-minute version, and I can tell you, you missed nothing important.
Except for like a taxi driver. Like, I went back and I started watching some of it, and I was like, there's a taxi driver that Russell Crowe just punched. Okay, cool.
Wait, you guys had a shared file? I had to buy Amazon Prime.
Nice.
we should figure out this this Gust movie
$9, I'll never get back.
You could just Bezos could give you a refund.
This movie's based on a true story.
Right.
Hardly.
Yeah, the names are.
Frank Lucas is a real person. Bumpy Johnson was a real person. Richie Roberts is a real person. But there's so little to this movie that's actually accurate. Like, yes, Richie did churn in about $1 million, and like everyone hated him for it. And yes, his partner was a junkie. And yes, Frank Lewis, obviously, he made a lot of money and he was sentenced to 70 years and then became a government informant. But other than that, there wasn't a lot that was actually true in this movie.
Tell me, because I watched some of a couple of videos that kind of implied that it was loosely based on.
Oh, it is loosely based. Very loosely.
He got his brothers from the South to come up. And
Yeah.
what was, I'd love to know what was not real.
Okay, so I have a lot of things that I'll sprinkle in. But he wasn't Bumpy's driver. He like had such a minimal relationship with him, and Bumpy didn't die in a appliance store. His wife actually said that Frank Lucas was like the person to carry Bumpy's coat sometimes. rarely.
Right.
I'm
I
like,
did
"Oh,
get that
okay,
vibe.
cool."
I like in my research, I did get that vibe that he was like just a liar saying he was closer to him.
Right.
I just thought it was weird that he died. The last thing he said was a slur against the Chinese, and then he died. And I was like, that's not getting him into heaven. Because he was like, did you see that part? I couldn't believe it.
It didn't register. I don't remember that.
Right.
I was saying they were ruining America. Yeah.
Wow.
Because that was the whole
This
speech
movie.
about the middleman, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
Couple other things, and I'll add more later. Tango, who's Idris Elba's character, he gets shot by Frank, which is true, but only 4 times, and it's because, according to Frank, he broke for Frank, which I think means to attack or charge at him. So then also Nicky Barnes, who's one of the other gangsters
Played by Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah. He says that Frank dressed really unrefined and was just like this Southern country boy and was super unrefined. It didn't dress well. So just interesting to hear all these different perspectives and go, who's telling the truth?
Yeah, it appears that someone described the real life Lucas as illiterate, vicious, violent, and everything Denzel Washington was not. So apparently just the characterization we got of Frank Lucas in the movie was not accurate to the person we would have met in real life.
Yeah, but it would have been really boring to watch if...
Yeah, he was a jerk and he wasn't handsome and dressed nice. Yeah, it seems like Nicky Barnes was, though. Wasn't he on like the cover of New York Times magazine? Like a photo shoot. He's like all dappered out. You could look it up. Nicky Barnes, Mr. Untouchable.
It was in the movie. Yeah, they drove past the club and he's handing the magazine out.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So I do know that it's loosely based on it, but like the very last, I'm jumping ahead, but the last quotes about him serving time and then informing on like 3/4 of all New York City cops.
That is not true.
That was just blatantly wrong. And
Oh yeah. Oh, I got so tricked by this movie. I was like,
I did too.
at the end, I was like, hell yeah, baby. Hashtag ACAB. Let's bring them down. And
So I guess my question would be like, if you have this true story and you're going to make a movie about it and it's not going to be anything close to the true story, like why even tell this story?
Yeah, it's a great, or at least like, why are you embellishing in these areas? Right.
Right.
I would never have watched this if not for the podcast. So why did they make it? I don't know. I wouldn't have watched it either way.
it's interesting that you mentioned that like he was dumb and stuff, because I watched some interviews with him as an old guy and he came off kind of stupid. And I thought like, oh, he's just old. Old people are stupid. But
Sure.
I watched this with my girlfriend and she was like, Frank Lucas is a real man. Like, cause you know how he's like up in the morning going to church. He was like the alpha male. She loved him. And I loved Russell Crowe, Richie. I was like, he's cool. He's dicking down hot lawyers. Like, I thought he was cool. It's so interesting that like Frank wasn't that guy at all. Like that was the whole movie, was that he was like the nice gangster.
Yeah. What about his character? Was that accurate? Like, did he go to church with his mother? Was that accurate? Do we know?
I didn't get anything about that specifically, but
Okay.
I would assume that he was a good son.
Right. Well, I mean, like you are right. He embellished all the time. So
Oh yeah, there was a story that about the coffin thing. We'll talk about that later.
Okay,
But
okay.
The American troops that were supposed to be smuggling heroin through their coffins and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
for their
complete.
service, so thanks.
Well, that was completely false. Like Frank Lucas was talking about how, this was something that we did, but then he changed and backed it up and said that it was actually one coffin with a false bottom, which there's still no evidence for.
Yeah.
Johnny, it's interesting that you said that you liked Richie and your girlfriend liked Frank, because this movie very much is one that presents itself as having two protagonists
Right.
who are also antagonists to each other. So I can see why someone's going to latch on to either one of those two and root for them. And I think that's one of the successes of this movie, is its ability to kind of paint both of these guys in a positive light.
Yeah. And I thought like Frank's character was so like, it was almost like, I wish that guy was my dad. And then like Richie's like the partier guy, like the party, like I think Richie's cooler, but Frank, like I wish I was more like him. If I could like pick my personality.
But you didn't want Richie to be your dad.
No, Richie's like the worst. He's horrible. Like he's just a shitty person.
Yeah,
but
Richie's child doesn't even want to be like Richie's kid. Like Richie's just like, peace out, kid. I'm done with you.
The funny thing is, Richie and his first wife didn't have any kids. So during this time, it's a completely made up story. Like this whole B plot. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I just thought it was ridiculous.
This is killing me because I like actually love the movie. I have so much to say about it, and now I'm slowly fucking hating it. So
No. I liked how they made Richie a deadbeat dad, and how he was like the opposite of Frank while being the good guy. I thought that was kind of interesting how they set that up for him to be an anti-hero and hero.
I think it's really funny just watching Johnny's expressions as we're kind of unveiling these deep, dark secrets and just kind of watching his reality unravel. Like I feel terrible, but that also kind of makes me wonder, like, you know, if you love the movie, did you love the movie because you thought it was real or because it's a good movie?
Good point.
The first time I saw the movie, I thought I left the theater disappointed, and I was like so hyped up. Like the guy I lived with, we would listen to the album and smoke weed, and I swear to God, he'd be like, "Dude, it's fucking time. We finally got our fucking like Oscar worthy." So when we went and saw it together, I know there was this awkward moment where we both were like, "Did you follow that?" But if you do like read about the story ahead of time, like I went and saw a Shakespeare play once, and now Shakespeare's too complicated for me. So this is nerdy, but I read like the Cole's notes, not the whole thing, but just like the 3 pages online. And it helped me like enjoy it, or otherwise I wouldn't have been able to understand a thing.
You're talking to some people that are, or at least me, someone who actually really enjoys Shakespeare. So not too nerdy. Keep going.
No, okay. Well, yeah, well, he seems like a cool guy. Shakespeare.
I like his work. I don't know if I like him.
Has he been Me Too'd?
I don't know.
Oh, I was just checking. I don't know. I was just checking if he'd been exposed. But like I rediscovered this movie like 8 months ago, and I kind of read about the plot first. And that's one of my criticisms, is that if you leave to go to the bathroom and it's still on, you'll miss like there's just so much stuff. Like every scene I think is explaining is so much that if you zone out for a second, you're lost the rest of the movie. I think that's a big problem.
So you can justify the 2.5, 3 hour runtime.
Right, but I don't think I was lost the entire time because I zoned out a lot. I'm serious. But like I still understood the premise. I knew what the big conflict was. I figured it out. Although I did go back and watch some of it later today just to make sure I knew what I was talking about.
It's disappointing that it's not real at all.
Poor Johnny.
I'm still like looking at the window now, like, God, I got lied to by a heroin dealer. Not again.
You know, something I really loved about this movie was just like, as you said, Johnny, like all the costumings and just the feel of this movie. You know, all of the old cars like in the 60s and 70s, and all of the really cool shops that they had. You know, I've always wondered how they actually put that together, because, you know, I've never been a part of a film crew. Maybe Matt, you know more about this than I do. Matt knows nothing.
Not a big thing like that.
All right, Ben, tell us all about art direction.
Yeah, so actually a lot of these big film studios have warehouses of just old shit ready for historical movies, ready to go. So
seriously?
Yeah, a collection of cars throughout history where if you want time-appropriate vehicles, they're sitting in a warehouse somewhere ready to be used.
How many cars from a specific era do you think you need? Like, I'm sure they reuse a lot of them, like shot per shot, but like in one frame of like a traffic scene in Harlem,
5 maybe.
Yeah, probably 5 or 6.
Really? You think you can get by with 5?
Probably like 50.
50? No, you don't need like a super wide shot. You catch like a corner of one car and then 2 parked around, and then maybe 1 going through the shot.
One of the things that I noticed because of my my unique interests in watching movies was the color palette. And this movie, I think, just kind of going off of where we're getting about this mood and this era setting feel, that the way that they treat color in this movie is like it hit me like halfway through, which is kind of surprising. Maybe that speaks to how quality the story was and I was engaged. But about halfway through, I realized this is probably like the least saturated movie I've ever seen. Like, for being a not black and white film, like the colors in this were so muted, and it was almost all beiges, browns, and tans with like light pops of really dull blue and red. It really, really hit me, and I think we'll get to it in the next act. But in the nightclub where Frank is there with his girlfriend, there's no color other than brown, beige, and tan. Like it looks as if the entire scene could be like smoke filled because of how dull it is. Like it, and that's just where it really hit me. And then just throughout the rest of the movie, I couldn't stop focusing on like, this is painfully.
I saw a few white people in the club.
That whole muted look, though, was how a lot of these films in the 70s look. So I think it was just Ridley Scott trying to recreate the way film looked 40 years ago.
Yeah, but that's not how the world looked.
Well, and nothing about what he was creating was trying to mimic the world, because this movie's not based on a true story.
That's
I mean, it
point.
is, but
yeah,
it really wasn't real.
Loosely, I mean, what are you going to say? Based on a true story or loosely based on
I'd say it's more inspired by a true story.
Oh, there you go.
That's a good way.
You're right. Though, like when they did the inside of the police station, like when I think of old school police stations, like they just nailed it. Like it looked like that smoky. The filing cabinets were just, that old look. It's the only time I thought cops looked kind of cool, because their cops were totally corrupt in it. Just another gang, and they made the cops look cool. I don't think cops are cool at all. That's the only movie I've ever seen.
Blue Magic. That's a brand name. Like Pepsi. That's a brand name. I stand behind it. I guarantee it. They know that, even if they don't know me any more than they know the chairman of General Mills.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is when you chop my dope down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, and then you call it Blue Magic. That is trademark infringement. You understand what I'm saying?
Frank eliminates his competition and brings in Huey, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, and the rest of his brothers to help run the heroin empire. He makes a point of operating quietly and dressing modestly to avoid police attention. Although Huey flaunts his new wealth, Frank becomes a well-known member of high society and meets his wife, Eva, who buys him a fur coat and the assemble for fight of the century.
This is how Frank Lucas actually talks in real life, the same way Matt's doing right now.
It is here where Richie Roberts notices Frank and starts to investigate him. Although Richie has issues with a dirty NYPD officer, Nick Trumpo, played by Josh Brolin, and a wonderful mustache, who is consistently trying to extort and blackmail money from Frank. He expands when he strikes a deal with the Italian mob to distribute his heroin. When a mobster friend attempts to bribe him, Richie discovers Frank is the supplier he's been after.
That outfit he wears to the fight of the century, though.
It's
that
real.
Was something.
It's real, yeah.
It's real. It's real. It's like the one thing in this movie that I'm like, shit, that's real. His wife, Ava, actually got that for him, although it wasn't the reason why Richie found him at all. Like, Richie already had him on his radar. So, but it's real. It's a real thing. You can look up Frank Lucas, and that's like one of the first pictures that comes up.
But I did like the whole theme of that. The flashiest guy, as he said, is the weakest. And I think like in a lot of gangster movies, like you're right, like the flashiest guy does go down. Like I used to work.
The line is the loudest guy in the room, or the loudest person in the room is the weakest in the room.
Yeah.
That's it. So I used to work labor for like ever, because I made bad choices in my life. And now I'm on Twitch, which is even worse. But like I would work with these gangsters, not so much, but they're wearing like $600 jeans to like a labor job, and they're dressing gangster to work. And I remember I said to the one guy, I asked the guy, I said, like, when you go make a deal or something in the hood of our town, I'm like, why don't you put like a Nautica shirt on and tuck it in and look like a dad? So if like the cops show up, like you're just like a regular guy walking on the street, put a suit on, like, oh, I'm going to work. And they were saying that I would be more likely to be beat up by someone in my own neighborhood for not dressing flashy. And I thought that was really interesting because this whole movie is about like, be low key, don't be. I did not see a theme of this movie being like, don't be flashy.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't party.
Yeah. I mean, that's Frank Lucas's entire thing. He's always trying to stay under the radar. And even when his family members start doing things that kind of call attention to them, he kind of tears them down and yells at them. Yep.
Yeah, but now knowing, and I didn't do the research that you guys did, so I'm kind of with Johnny here with my reality crumbling around me. But like knowing that he was maybe not as witty, and so maybe some of these traits that Denzel portrays as Frank Lewis are mimicking the reality of it, but less intentional than the reality might have actually been.
Can you say more about that?
If he was kind of known in reality as not dressing very classy, and the movie takes that and turns his downplaying of his appearance as a strategy and a way to not be picked up by the police, maybe it was unintentional by the real Frank, and Hollywood has turned it into a character choice. Interesting.
I do know that I think there's only the yin and the yang. You know, you have you can dress super nice. You can be like Nicky Barnes, dress up and be on the cover of a magazine, you know, just super dappered out. Or you could be like some Italian Godfathers. There's like this guy who would put on a bathrobe and he would intentionally look crazy, and he would just stumble around the streets of New York just to avoid attention. So there's no middle ground. You know, that's what I'm getting at. There's no guy driving a Volvo and dressing like a normal guy.
So, Matt, you mentioned the Italian mobster, which has been kind of like what everyone knew in the 30s and 40s and 50s. And so 60s, you know, Bumpy Johnson was kind of the first black mob boss. And that was kind of a huge deal for the black community in Harlem. And so Frank Lucas, even though he's been quoted by many people that he's ruined more lives than helped lives when it comes to the black community.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just interesting to think about how he becomes suddenly this wealthy black man, and then a bunch of other black people become wealthier or middle class in this time. And so when you look at the war on drugs with Nixon and that effect on race in this film, it's actually interesting to go through and dig deep about how they created the Controlled Substances Act in order to have mass incarceration of black people. And, you know, one of Nixon's aides actually even talked about this in the 90s in one of his interviews. He talked about how there were two enemies. There were the anti-war lefts and then black people. And you couldn't make it illegal to be black or against the war. So they got the people of the public to associate marijuana with the hippies and heroin with black people so that they could arrest and get rid of these dealers. And I was talking to my husband a little bit about this when we went to Barnes & Noble this morning. We talked about how anti-war and black leaders, they found themselves investigated and searched and imprisoned for drug possession. And it was this fear of these people were becoming wealthier and a part of society. And so Nixon and others, I'm not going to say all Republicans, but
most, yeah,
sure. You know, they focused on making sure that they were criminalizing drugs so that they could cut the weeds instead of digging out the roots of what was actually wrong. You know, they weren't trying to support the drug addiction that was in the world. They were just trying to get rid of the dealers, and hopefully that would make it better, which it didn't.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was watching a thing about the real Frank Lucas, and they were saying he spent the rest of his life feeling guilty that he destroyed Harlem with this drug. And I couldn't describe how I felt, but you just nailed it. A part of me was like, was it just him? It was very 2007 mentality where it was like, oh, look, this horrible guy ruined Harlem. And I was like, just that seems pretty, putting a lot of blame on, maybe a couple policies out there had something to do with it. So yeah, I felt exactly what you were saying. I think you said it spot on.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that this movie was made in 2007, and that the war on drugs with Nixon and Reagan and H.W. Bush, this is a movie that needed to be made while a Republican was in office because of the way it kind of mirrors the policies that they've been making to criminalize black people for drug use. If this was made during Obama era, I don't think it would have had the same impact on the audience.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Because I was looking through and researching because, I don't know a lot about history. I've never been a history person. And so looking to see what Reagan reversed, what Jimmy Carter completely did in decriminalizing marijuana, it was just really interesting to see just this back and forth between Republicans and Democrats about drugs. And they never really went for what was actually the matter and to support communities.
Yeah.
First rule of history is that the French are always the bad guys. Did you notice? I sorry to switch to this, but I watched it last night, and within the first, maybe it was 45 minutes because you have no idea how long it takes. But he's in the bar in Bangkok, and he's with the American guy, the American soldier. Did you notice the American soldier drops an N-bomb immediately?
Oh yeah,
at him, but as it'd be hey, what's up, bro? To Matt from me. I couldn't believe. Was that historically accurate? I feel even back then someone would have thrown a punch.
I think it's because they were related that he probably got away with it.
Right?
He was his cousin.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
I think that's
by
probably
marriage?
why it was okay. By marriage. Yeah, it was by marriage.
Right. And also just it being portrayed as, the late 60s, early 70s, I don't know. I personally feel like that did not have to be in there. But, it's just something that 2007 movies probably didn't think that hard about it. But you know what I really want to talk about is how wonderful I felt when Frank gives a house to his mom and she's so excited. Oh my God. In this part, he's like, hey, I'm going to call my family and tell them, hey, we're going to all and just get together and have this warm, fuzzy feeling. And I almost started crying because of Ruby Dee and how adorable she was. She was like, no, this isn't my house. What? This is not real. This isn't happening. And she just blew me away in this entire movie. And the whole movie in general, I thought it was good. But she's really the one that I stuck it out for. And you guys, of course.
She had the best speech in the end.
Yeah.
That was the best. That was my girlfriend and I, we actually got emotional. That was amazing. And then the irony that he could have quit right there if he listened to his mom. The mom was the best. She was amazing.
Now, not to ruin your day a little bit more, but in reality,
every time you preface it,
he actually didn't even have a mom.
Fuck!
No, stop.
I hate this movie. I
he
love
has
this
no
movie
mother.
up until an hour ago.
Wesley, you're such an asshole. That was amazing.
They hate what you represent.
I don't represent nothing but Frank Lucas.
You sure? Black businessman like you? You represent progress. The kind of progress that's going to see them lose a lot of money. With you out of the way, everything can return to normal.
My man.
Frank travels to Thailand to secure what may be his final shipment after the U.S. troops pull out from Vietnam. From an informant's tip, Richie secures a military cargo plane, but it is stopped by the U.S. attorney before he can search the coffins on board. He tails the coffins and discovers what could be Frank's heroin. After a brutal battle, Richie and his crew take down Frank, his drug operation, in order to reduce his sentence. Frank becomes an informant for Richie, and then later Richie defends Frank in court.
Because he's a lawyer now.
Yeah,
that happened fast.
He's a defense attorney. He puts a cup of coffee across the table, and now he's a defense attorney.
No, Matt. No, he was taking.
He's a prosecutor. He's not a defense attorney.
Well, wasn't that one of the supers at the end?
Well, the super was he became a defense attorney so that he could defend Frank Lucas. But
okay, right.
At the time, he was the prosecuting attorney trying to put Frank in jail.
Right.
Okay.
I think that this third act of this movie is so incredibly strong that it makes up for me. It was the 2 hours that came before it, which I thought were pretty slow. But this third act, once that raid starts being planned to break into the place that the project's building that the heroin's being dealt out of, that entire scene, I was just on the edge of my seat, super into what was going on. And then you see Russell Crowe and Denzel Washington come together And that scene where they're sitting across the table from each other and talking, like that scene is phenomenal. That scene by itself justifies this entire movie that came before it. And it makes me kind of mad that we didn't get any Denzel Washington with Russell Crowe prior to that.
That's a good point, because that's the first time that they meet. Is that like 2 hours and 23 minutes or something?
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason I put it as brutal battle, because it was incredibly intense. And, you know, I was talking to Ben about this earlier, just how I was having a hard time watching it and watching these police officers just beat the shit out of people and shoot people. And I was really struggling with that. But then he was talking about, well, what about everyone else? That like the whole movie itself is brutal too. You know, there's a lot of just guns and shooting and all sorts of things.
That scene, I said to my girlfriend when we were watching, I was like, what was their plan? Go in and shoot everyone? Like they didn't have any intention of arresting anyone but the cousin or the brother of Frank. They were just like, all right, we'll shoot everyone else and then get hit. Like that was crazy. Yeah.
Chaos.
Well, and in the entire movie, I'm like, is that fucking RZA? Is that RZA? As the cop, and then when he comes out doing his little junkie act, I'm like, that's fucking RZA.
But it's interesting that you mentioned that you wanted more of them together, because I really liked that. But 6 months ago, when I kind of watched this again on my own and kind of fell in love with it, I read a review that said the movie was inherently racist because it was like supposed to be this first black gangster film that was really big, and they had to throw in Russell Crowe as a way to entice white people to the theater. It was a really good critique. And I read it. I'm also very dumb. So anything I read, I believe right away. So for a while, I was like, yeah, I agree with that. But now Matt sent me a video about like the ironies between the two of them, like how different they are, but how exactly the same they are and how much that theme runs through. I've kind of gone against that and thought like that was actually kind of cool. And I guess kind of truthful because they became best friends later in life afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just me, but I've always felt that Denzel Washington had like a super white fandom. Like white people love him. I don't know if it's just me, but I've always had this like feeling that everyone just loves Denzel.
Well, what's that trope? Like the all-knowing. That's like a movie trope where like he does have that like you fall in love with him. Like he knows all the answers. Like he's so cool in this movie.
Right. My Man.
Yeah. What's up with My Man?
Have we talked about My Man yet? How many times does that show up in the script? Or is that ad-libbed?
I'm going to guess 0. I think that's a Denzel Washington ad.
Okay.
Oh, yeah?
Like that feels like a Denzel Washington ad lib.
When he first says it in the movie, I was like, oh, is this what that's from? But like, as I was thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know if I remember it from this movie or if he does it in other movies. Like, is it really just the Denzel Washington thing?
He said it in Flight when he was like about to crash.
I don't know if that's true.
I was drunk when I saw that movie.
So was the pilot.
That was actually just you screaming at the movie scene.
Actually, yeah, it was just me thinking I was in Flight drunk last Thursday.
Johnny, getting back to your comment about that article about this movie being racist, I think if you take Richie out of this movie, it falls very much into the formula of other gangster movies. And I think by including the cop in there for that perspective, it avoided a lot of those tropes that you typically see in gangster movies. Now, as someone who watches a lot of gangster movies, would you agree with that?
Yeah. And you know what else I noticed? Like in Goodfellas, it's so much fun up until he starts seeing the helicopter. And then you're like, oh, this is like it. The fall in most gangster movies hurts so much because it's so much fun. This one never really gave the lock, stock, and like Guy Ritchie, whoa, this is so awesome. It was just kind of like calm. And then when the fall happened, I think the contrast with Russell Crowe made you still root for Frank. Like even during the shootout scene, my girlfriend and I were saying like, I want the drug dealers to win. And fucking justified snitching for me. I don't see Frank Lucas as a snitch because when he talked about his upbringing as a black man in the South, I was like, fucking yeah, take down those cops. Like snitch away, baby. Take down the Italians.
In the movie, Frank Lucas says something about how his 12-year-old cousin was shot by a cop. So in reality, I believe he said that it was a KKK member, unless it was a cop that was KKK. I don't know. Could be. Who knows? But just a few other things just to ruin your life, Johnny.
It's a new segment on the show.
There's some more myths.
Tell me, hit me with it.
We already talked about that. Frank Lucas never mentioned the crooked cops. It was all drug dealers, actually. And so there's a lot of dispute on that. And so that kind of makes him the hero in this movie, that he's getting all of these crooked cops out of the police department, but he actually wasn't. It was all of these drug dealers. And another thing, Ike Atkinson, he was talking about how the caskets with heroin were false, but they did ship things in furniture, which I thought was kind of interesting. And here's just a side note. You know how Ava, his wife, is supposed to be like Miss Puerto Rico? She wasn't. Yeah. She wasn't.
That ruins the movie for me, honestly.
Emily, I do want to ask though, because I thought Russell Crowe, and I'm asking you as the lady, and I'm maybe Ben and Wellesley like the hot men too, but I'm asking you because I thought Russell Crowe was so sexy in it. I thought his body was like great for, like, I'm in my 30s now, so like he kind of had a gut, but he still looked manly. I said to my girlfriend, I was like, he's hot, eh? Did you find Russell hot? She didn't find him hot. She thought he was kind of a loser.
No, but didn't he have like the nice guys feel to him?
He had a hockey hair. Yeah. He had hockey hair, didn't he?
Dude, you guys, I didn't recognize him or Josh Brolin for half the movie.
What?
Like, I'm not even kidding you. I was like, I know who this is. I recognize him. Why do I not know him? It's because his accent was actually pretty spot on to Richie's.
No, I also did not find Russell Crowe attractive in this movie.
I saw what you're talking about, Johnny. I'm on yours. I'm on Team Johnny here.
He had swag, but the corrupt cop that Josh Brolin played, he had fucking swag though. Like his leather coat, that long one, the trench coat,
his
before
mustache.
that got ruined. And
he did not commit suicide. He's apparently still alive at the time. So there's another thing. Sorry, ruined the movie for you.
Well, my review I wrote is now
100% true.
Yeah, the funniest faces. It's great.
Do you think that this should have been now? I know in 2007 things were different. Paris Hilton was in. Kim was a hanger on. Like things were completely different. But there were no like HBO. Well, I guess Sopranos and stuff. But like there wasn't like nowadays. This would have made a sick series. I think if you could have done like so much. Like 4 seasons in could be the relationship between Richie and Frank when they start collaborating. Like I think they could. It probably would have been impossible at the time, but that would have been ideal.
Isn't
honestly,
this similar to The Wire?
Like The Wire.
Yeah, thank you, Wesley.
Oh, that was cute. Aw, best friends. All right, Wesley, let's talk about some things you noticed today.
These are just a few of our incredible thoughts.
Why burn him alive if you're going to shoot him? There was no bullet conservation in the 1960s.
See, I thought that was merciful. Like you burn him alive to show him, hey, I've got the power to inflict pain on you, but then I don't want you to suffer.
Hey, This is Wesley's observations. This is not Ben responds to Wesley's observations.
No, we need a new segment of that.
Mini segments. I think it's the message it sends to the neighborhood. You get burned alive and shot 7 times. Come on.
No, it makes no sense. You guys are irrelevant. Norman Reedus plays a character named Norman Riley.
I noticed that too. Yes.
Sweet naming. Awesome. The end freeze frame with Russell Crowe stopping Washington from stepping into traffic. Why?
Oh, you watched the 2 hours, 55 minutes.
That's the director cut. Yeah.
Oh,
wait, the normal one doesn't end with the...
Nope. He's standing there outside of jail and the song comes in and it cuts and that's it.
Wow.
I thought for sure I watched.
Man, that sounds like a better movie.
The director's cut is better. I've seen that ending. Yeah. Where he's in the suit and Richie's like rich and has a Mercedes and he goes to meet him. Yeah, I think it's a better ending.
So once I saw Ridley Scott, all I could do was wonder how good Denzel Washington would have been in Gladiator.
Okay.
This is not related to the movie, but in the prep work for getting ready to record today, I think my computer thinks that I'm addicted to heroin based off of how many times I've Googled heroin for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Incognito
it's literally
mode, Wesley.
started auto.
My parents think I'm addicted to heroin because how many times they've caught me with it.
Okay, you guys ready for my dad joke? Dad joke. What do you call gangsters from Minnesota?
What?
Oh, geez.
All right.
That's so stupid. It's so stupid.
No, that was totally worth it. Fuck you.
Emily, what do you have for your rants and raves?
Well, I have a microphone and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
I got a rave about my man, Idris Elba.
Oh, R.I.P.
Yeah, I know, right? So he plays the character Tango that dies like immediately, which was really disappointing for me because I love me some Idris. You know, he's my husband's husband, and you know, I'm totally on board with that. Idris Elba walks in and he has got so much swagger, and he's wearing the only spot of color in this entire movie, this gorgeous red hat. You know, everyone calls them pimp hats or whatever. You know, they're called Godfather hats or Hamburg hats. So he comes in and he has just this perfect hat, and he just like gives Denzel Washington's character a bunch of shit about how he owes him money. And I'm so in love with this character. I'm like, yes, this is where this conflict is going to be. And it's going to drive home all the way through to the end. And Idris Elba's going to be my man that I'm going to be so excited to see him be this villain. It's going to be great. And then fucking Denzel Washington shoots him in the head on the street.
Kind of out of
I was
nowhere.
really, really disappointed about that. I was really disappointed about that. I was so upset.
I wrote a really, really long no, Idris.
Yeah. So Idris Elba, I love you, and my husband loves you, and you know,
Reach out to us.
He could have been less of a jerk in the movie. His character, he was
but he
was
would have
big
been
jerk.
a perfect villain. That's what I'm raving about. He was
Mhm.
a great villain, and I thought he was going to go so much further than that, especially with his gorgeous red hat. So the end.
How much do you think the casting of Idris Elba in that, though, is playing on the idea of him being in The Wire, where he's this big drug lord, and then Denzel Washington comes and shoots him right off the bat? Like, I think that might be playing a little bit with the audience's expectation of the role Idris Elba might have played in the movie.
Right.
I think he's just a really good actor.
He made the most of his few minutes on screen.
Right.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
I think, you know, in terms of like how honorable that was, like I felt like he got sucker punched with a gun. That didn't seem right, you know? Like I thought like Denzel actually did a bitch move there.
No, I don't think so. Just with the way that he prefaces it with like stepping away from his family at the restaurant. Like I don't remember the exact line, but he's like,
You're either a somebody or nobody.
yeah. And then he just gets up and walks out to like show his brothers who all just
Mhm.
came up from the South and just shoots a guy in the face in the middle of the street. Like it was,
And gets away with it.
I'm really excited to hear Johnny's review after all of these revelations.
I said that. Well, listen, I write like a 5-year-old though. Okay,
That's perfect. Actually, that's
Hey,
perfect.
some 5-year-olds are really smart. So go for it, Johnny.
We'll see if Johnny's a smart
I can assure
5-year-old.
you, my 5-year-old will not be smart. Not with these genes. All right, this movie is sick. I love it. The style rules. The time period looks cool and not cheesy, like most representations of that time. But the biggest flaw is trying to cram this huge story into a movie. It's way too long. If you get up to go to the bathroom, you'll miss something important. They should have made this into a TV show like True Detective. It's a little more modern, but the relationship between the two main characters is too interesting not to dive deeper. At the time, I've changed it now, but I loved it. Like I was like hooting and hollering when it ended a couple hours before we started. But I said I rate this 9 deliciously sweet bags of pure uncut 4% blue magic heroin out of 10. But if I didn't know the story beforehand, I would probably give it a 6 because for normies, it's hard to follow. But now I don't know what to think. The Jay-Z album, fucking 10 out of 10. One of my favorites.
We might have to reach out and follow up with you in a couple days when you've processed to see
That's true.
what your final rating ends up
I
with.
sober up from the blue magic.
My gosh. Hey, Wesley, are you ready for some Battle of Twits
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
stuff? What do you got for us today?
So for our random question today, I'm going to give you options for famous real people, and we'll get into it a little more in a second. But Johnny, pick a Matt or Ben. Who gets to pick first?
Matt. You paid me.
All right.
No, I didn't. All right.
Like
Sorry.
Frank paid off the police.
So your options this week are Sacagawea, Sally Ride, Vincent Van Gogh, Aretha Franklin, Bob Marley, or Marie Curie.
I think I'm gonna do Sacagawea.
Cool. Ben?
I got Sally Ride.
Nice. I think that's a good one.
Am I supposed to know who these people are?
And now it's time to play Battle of the Junkies.
Oh.
I will pose 3 dope rounds of questions to our skag boys. Let them try to smack down their opponent's answers and earn one $25,000 alpaca rug point per round for winning. And for losing, you have to blot out the stain from that rug. I will be more easily addicted to the more blue magic and entertaining answers. After my man quits while they're ahead, which is not the same as quitting, the loser will be the loudest one in the room, which is also the weakest one in the room. This week, we are going to transition into tracking our winners on a leaderboard. We'll be keeping track of our own battlers as well as our guests. Once someone reaches 10 points, and we're going to treat the guests as one group, they will receive a spectacular prize instead of our losers receiving a weekly punishment. So let's reward the winners today. So, junkies, are you ready?
Yeah.
So, question 1, Wesley's Wandom Westion. Before this, you guys got to pick a historical figure. So, this movie might not have been 100% true. Most stories based on real life get spun for entertainment. Now, with the famous person you chose, I want you to describe the plot of their biopic for them that is not accurate. We're going to start with Ben, who chose Sally Ride.
Sally Ride became the first American woman to go to space in 1983. However, that's just the beginning of my movie. The movie starts with her coming back from space, only something happened up in space that she was not prepared for. While in space, she had an encounter with an alien substance that latched onto her body and caused her to start behaving erratically. We see her have multiple flashes where she loses control of her body as the alien takes over and causes her to behave outside of her character. At first, the alien causes her to do small evil things like tip over people's drinks at bars and call pregnant women fat. But this is all just a precursor to her big evil deed, which is to sabotage the Challenger launch. The evil alien doesn't want humans to achieve space travel and is keen on ending that pursuit. Sally Ride accomplishes her goal, and the Challenger explodes. Only Sally can feel inside that she had something to do with it. She manages to expel the alien from her body and destroys it, for which she's inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. The movie ends with her going back to space, but she falls into a wormhole, transporting her back to 1965, where she inspires the song Ride, Sally, Ride.
Ben, would you mind singing Ride, Sally, Ride for us?
Ride along, Sally, ride, Sally, ride.
Thank you.
Those last couple sentences really went somewhere, huh?
Men love
Johnny-
to describe women as hysterical. Unbelievable. I hate to sound woke here, but I'm standing up for the ladies in this one.
I didn't say
She
hysterical, I
must
said
have made it to
erratic.
space, and she's still hysterical.
Johnny, how much do you know about Challenger?
Is that the one that blew up?
Yep. Full of teachers.
Wait. I know a street joke about this. I do know. Wait, what does NASA stand for?
What?
Need another 7 astronauts. Is that the same one? 7 died?
That's the joke. Yeah, that's the joke.
Yeah. It's a street joke.
Yeah.
It's the same street you can buy blue magic on.
All right, Matt, you chose Sacagawea.
That's right.
So let's hear your biopic.
Sacagawea helped Lewis and Clark expedition in achieving their chartered mission objectives by exploring the Louisiana Territory, right? Throw all of that out. In my biopic, she's going to become the first Native American lawyer where she teaches and mounts a defense to keep America in Native American arms successfully in my movie. The Native American land would be the land and borders would be preserved with minimal explorers on the East Coast. And she would eventually go on to be on the quarter, dime, nickel, penny, and golden dollar.
So just an easy false fact to slip by everybody since nobody knows who's on any of the coins.
Right. And guess what? My movie is also called American Gangster.
Lewis and Clark, they were the gay explorers.
I don't know if they were.
I don't know history. I don't know. I thought Lewis and Clark, they explored together because the world that they were from did not accept them. So they searched for new worlds.
Johnny, how much American history do they teach in Canada?
Very little. Well, Canadian culture and everything Canadian is completely defined by "we're not you."
Sure,
but I remember someone saying when I was younger, it's really interesting because like that's our entire like view is like we're not America. We're not America. When you guys think of us, well, you fucking don't think of us. So that's like crazy. It's like kind of embarrassing because like, you guys don't ever think about us, and then our entire thing's like, woo, we're not them. You know? So I do know a little bit. I do believe the towers were an outside job. I saw it on TV. It wasn't inside. I do believe JFK was killed by somebody.
Yeah, that is true.
That's a bold stance.
Definitely true.
But I have no idea who.
Sacagawea.
I don't want to say her name wrong, but Saki.
So,
what's her name?
Sacagawea.
So she helped. Personally, I've just the first time I heard about her, and she sounds like she's helping out the white guy a little too much. She seems kind of
right,
like a traitor here,
which we fix in my movie.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, perfect.
So counter question to Ben: how much Canadian history did you learn?
Yeah, hit me, baby.
I mean, I've seen the movie Dudley Do Right.
All right. Wow,
that's hurtful to all of us.
Okay, let's move on. Question 2. In this movie, the Lucas family runs deep in running Frank's empire. But which movie family would you want to be by your side, helping you run an empire of your choosing? And question 2, we're going to start with Matt.
All right. So I chose the rich family in Crazy Rich Asians. The richest family in all of Singapore. They have literally billions of dollars and are members of high society. So with all that power, money, and influence, I would take over the media empire. We would create all of the newest TikTok dances, and we would create powerful influencers in the structure of our new media app. We would also create movies, poaching the best directors, actors, and eventually we would own enough content to create our own streaming channel where we'd eventually put ourselves out to use that power and influence, specifically the money, to buy Netflix and take over the media industry. Eventually, we would open our own theme parks in different countries, using intellectual property we've created. So, crazy rich Asians, they got the money. Let's go.
So you just took over all the media, as in that's your empire.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, does this family have a last name?
Young. Yeah, they're the young. They are the young. The youngs in Crazy Rich Asians. Nice try, Ben.
I thought I had you.
I was going to go with the family from Fast and Furious, but then I decided against it.
I am so taken aback by your addition of taking over theme parks.
Oh yeah, it's just like that's the next step in a media company like Disney. Disney, like Universal, like the Mall of America.
But like the fact that that's like step number 5 in the guide to taking over the world is like theme parks. Maybe I'm in the wrong here, but
it's a piece of the empire.
Okay,
that's exactly
all
right.
Ben, what's your family?
There's lucrative money in having food that's not only delicious but mood altering. Food so good that it will stop bad guys in its tracks and make even the biggest doubter a true believer. I want to build my empire around that, and my empire would be jarred preserves. There's only one family to seek out to help me run my hustle, and that's the Brown family from the Paddington movies. Paddington and his Aunt Lucy, along with Uncle Pastuzo, who I believe to not be dead, would help with the making of the preserves, marmalade at first, and then we'll branch out to others. Mr. Brown's a businessman who will help run the books. Mrs. Brown will be the day-to-day business manager because she's so nice and everyone will want to work for her. The children will help us penetrate the teenage market, and Mrs. Bird will be the muscle and enforcer. There are also hosts of neighbors and friends who would drop everything to help out the lovable Paddington and Brown family. A tight-knit family that enjoys being around each other and would do anything for each other. That's who I want to be in business with.
Wow.
You say penetrate the teen market?
I did, yeah.
Great
All right,
question.
Good follow up, Johnny.
I want to limit the follow-ups from our judging crew here, as this has a follow-up. But while our next question is kind of a follow-up to the answers that the contestants have provided here, we're going to give them about a minute. And while we do so, let's talk to Johnny. Johnny, what's the last movie or TV show that you have recently watched? What did you think about it?
I just started watching the Nicky Jams Netflix series. Do you know Nicky Jams?
No.
Oh boy! So Nicky Jams and Daddy Yankee were they were going to be the next big stars in reggaeton, right? And they were in Puerto Rico. And, people got shot and shit, and they had to flee Puerto Rico. And Nicky became a star in his own life. But, you guys know Daddy Yankee, right? Gasolina was pretty big in some of the States. And
the name doesn't sound familiar, but Gasolina does.
Daddy Yankee. What, you guys don't know Daddy Yankee? Oh my God.
I'm
you guys
completely lost. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Are you guys
very intrigued,
pro wall?
Wait, what?
Excuse me.
Wait,
you know
what?
who fucking Daddy Yankee is? 2007 is when Gasolina came out. Na 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 gasolina.
Oh yeah, I know the song.
Go ahead, Emily. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, again, I was like 13 or 14 years old. So,
in
super
Puerto
oblivious to the
Rico,
world.
13-year-olds are twerking to Daddy Yankee right now as we speak. So there's no excuse. Listen, Nicky Jam and Daddy Yankee, they're two of the biggest reggaeton stars in the world. Daddy Yankee was on the Despacito song. And in 09, 08, it was their come up, and they made a Netflix series about them. And listen, I'm going to bring reggaeton to Minnesota. You guys need to hear this.
All right.
I'm telling you, the future of America has got a Latina little slant. So you guys need to get into the music now. The Nicky Jams show is amazing.
All right, we will have to check that out. And that is a little over a minute. You guys ready?
Sure.
Now let's poke some holes in your opponent's T-Mobile family plan. So based on the answer to question 2, how does your opponent get taken down?
So I don't think Matt's actually seen Crazy Rich Asians, because not only does this family just have money, but they're all about their own internal family. They're very reticent to let people from the outside in. That's what the entire movie's about. Michelle Yeoh's mother character would never let Matt just be a part of their money. Like, Matt has nothing to sell himself on. He is a nobody. Why would anyone want to work with Matt when starting theme parks or just owning media? Like, Matt has nothing to do with any of that. Plus, theme parks around new intellectual property, that's not how theme parks work. Theme parks are built on nostalgia. That's why Disney still talks about movies from 50 years ago when it comes to their rides. And money is not all it takes to run a successful business. Donald Trump is an example of that. So just because you have money does not mean that you're going to be able to successfully run a media company. My group, they have experience in making jarred preserves, and they can sell it to everybody. Smuckers, look out, because here come the Browns.
I just want to say Donald Trump, more like Donald Lump. That guy's a cancer. Am I right?
You're not wrong. You're not even wrong.
I wrote that, by the way, before that ends up on the Daily Show. That I wrote that in 2016. All right, so
more like.
Okay,
you better keep that in.
Matt, how does Ben get caught with his Paddington family?
All right, well, let's just say Big Jelly would take down Ben's little marmalade empire with the Food and Drug Administration. Everyone knows jelly is not made with bears, from bears. Bears aren't involved at all. Paddington being a huge liability in the whole operation of his jarred preservatives business. So let's just say this jelly's cheaper, more efficient. It tastes better. And you can't sell jarred preservatives to everybody. It's not like that. Like, who's eating toast every day? So there's no business there, right? And do I get to defend my idea at all?
Go for it.
Let's just say, I'm going to be able to work with these crazy rich Asians because I earned it, okay? I didn't bore you with all the back and forth. The question is, which movie family would you want helping by your side, run an empire of your choosing. So I chose a strong suit for a strong family. And of course, intellectual property is stage 5. You've already skipped over, creating this new media app and our TikTok dances. We're going to make a lot of money. Okay. And at the end of the day, what language do these people speak? Money. Okay. Not jelly.
All I'm saying, Matt, is you wouldn't get taken down because you would never be allowed to be part of it.
Well, I mean, why?
Nope, we're done.
Why? What do you mean, why?
For the reasons he said in the first place.
All right, so
I'm wearing a suit. Come on, I'm in their office.
Question 1. You chose a historical figure to write a biopic about that was mostly false. Ben, you chose Sally Ride. Matt, you chose Sacagawea. Ben, I love just how quickly and crazy the end of your story went. Like, if you broke just your paragraph down into quarters, the first half was logical. The second or the third quarter was like, what's going on? And then the very last sentence just threw me out into space. It was amazing.
Wow.
Like Sally Ride. Yeah.
Yeah. Matt, I liked how you threw out everything. You were just basically like, the only thing that's fact in my story is her name.
And that she's Native American.
And she's Native American.
That's right.
But I think that you removing her entire history as opposed to adding to it is why I'm going to give this one to Ben.
Wow. This is dog shit.
So question 2, you had to pick a movie family to help run your empire. Matt, you chose the Youngs from Crazy Rich Asians.
That's right.
And Ben, you chose the Browns from Paddington. I think, Matt, you definitely have the more powerful family and a lot of that ability to make like large scale changes with society. But Ben breaking down the jobs of each one of the family members and giving them the real ability to run an empire as a core unit, as opposed to just people who can influence, even if it's just marmalade, is so I'm giving this one to Ben as well.
Wow.
That one was a hard one for me. I went back and forth quite a bit about that because I do think you had a lot of really good points.
He wanted to give it to you. Johnny and I said, fuck that.
you really laid out the process a lot, like the step by step, like how you would take having money and turning that into a takeover, but it wasn't necessarily a takeover question. It was more about how do you have like a strong empire. And then again, that theme parks thing, I maybe that's just me. And it sounded like you guys were all kind of on Matt's side, but that theme park thing really did throw me. Wrapping up with question 3, kind of turning question 2 on its head and talking about how your opponents would be brought down. Ben's point that money isn't the answer to being successful versus Matt saying that marmalade isn't lucrative enough, I think is kind of what it came down to as like what I saw as the key cornerstones to your arguments. I don't think that marmalade not being as in demand is necessarily the reason that an empire would fail. Like that's also kind of the reason to have a front is, you've got something that seems wholesome versus
my whole crux of, if you're setting me up to lose here, the whole crux
yes,
the whole crux,
read the writing on the wall, Matt.
Listen, if the whole crux of me taking down his jarred preservatives empire was that it was made by bears and the Food and Drug Administration would be on his ass.
You know what? Fine. I'll give Matt gets question 3.
Yeah.
No, I did like your point about the FDA not approving it. So that was another close one. And just so Matt doesn't have his day ruined, I'll give 3 to Matt.
Hell yeah.
For fuck's sake. Now that it's not just a win system, but a point system,
I know. I could see it in your face as I was announcing it. Like, you still won, but yeah, you didn't get 3 out of the 3.
Johnny, how you feeling, man?
Well, I used to live next to this college dorm, and and it was an international college. So it was a lot of crazy rich Asians. And I'm going to say right now, those people love to appropriate Black culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that ties into the movie and everything.
Interesting.
That
When
is
Emily
statement.
asked you how you were
money,
feeling,
oh my God.
I
They're
could've
walking down
never
the
would've
street with
guessed
the
that.
most expensive outfits. They're dressed just like the latest Pop Smoke. So what's the question?
well, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling fucking great. I'm having a
man.
blast. I'm gonna throw up my stream after this.
Hell yeah.
I've been having a lot of I'm having a blast with this.
Oh, man.
having a blast
This was
too.
fun.
Good.
Oh.
I'm glad that was your response to how are you feeling.
How are you feeling?
How are you
There's a whole
feeling?
thing.
Let me tell you something about Crazy Rich Asians.
Well, you guys are talking a lot, and
No,
I got
you're good.
thinking about my life. And,
You were in the zone, baby.
yeah, baby.
Johnny.
Wait, were we supposed to drink through this entire podcast, or was I the only one?
No, I did
Oh,
too.
I'm
We
definitely
did.
drunk.
We're there.
Okay, good,
Oh, yeah.
We're all there. Johnny, thank you so much for being on. Do you have anything you want to talk about, or like let's talk about your streaming career a
Absolutely,
little bit?
I'd like to pimp out my my channel here.
Yeah,
guys,
tell these guys about it.
Yes, twitch.tv/Johnny Now, Johnny_now. Listen, I don't like to call myself a legend on Twitch, but the word has been applied before. I am the I've got the world record for the longest stream ever, even though I didn't apply for the actual title, but I know I did it. I was live for 17 days straight. I lived in a cage for 30 days. I'm the only person on the internet who has done 12 hours of Chinese water torture.
That's true. That's a terrible stream.
Yes, and I do. So I currently do a radio show, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my Twitch channel. It's called Johnny Now Radio. Get in there. It rules. You've been there, Matt. You've seen it.
I'll share some clips with these guys. When you say Chinese water torture, you kind of just move on. But
exactly,
you guys,
exactly.
This stream is like Johnny has to describe it as a water challenge because terms of service with Twitch is that you can't use self-harm. So he'll just come up with different ways.
Well, that was before. I don't really do too many challenges before. That was me tap dancing to get attention. But if you guys please Google Johnny_now, there's tons of articles out there about me. Literally, I know I'm a D-list celebrity here on Twitch, but I'm on my way up to the moon. So Google me and you'll see what it is.
You guys will check it out, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, beautiful.
You guys know Kotaku?
Yeah.
No.
They're part of Gawker.
Yep.
Oh, sure.
So they wrote an article on me, 2,000 words. Okay, you guys know Gamergate? The guy who started Gamergate, he interviewed me. He's a star. He's a good guy. Nathan. He's a good guy. So I'm connected, my friend. I'm with and I'm on the right side of history, my friend. Also, I want to say hashtag ACAB, hashtag Black Lives Matter, America. What the fuck is going on? Guys, chill out. But I agree with the protest and keep doing what you're doing, America.
Thank you. Thank you for some international perspective.
I got some more.
I believe you do.
Well, we'll have to have you back. Johnny, thank you for being on the show. And thanks for watching American Gangster with us. Yeah, next week, what's our movie next week?
Yeah, so in the next 2 weeks, we have a little cross promotion going on with the From Justin to Kane podcast, where they go through and watch a good movie and a bad movie, and then talk about how they are exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have Bob on next week from that podcast to watch Ratatouille with us. And then the week after that, we're going to have Mike on, and he's going to watch Good Luck Chuck with us.
I can't believe you think Ratatouille is a bad movie.
Johnny, thanks for being on.
All right, thank you guys so much. This was so much fun.
Thanks,
I love
Johnny.
you guys. You guys rule.
Thank you.
All of you guys rule.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.